Welcome to the Tradies in Business podcast with your hosts Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Divert your phone and grab a brew as Waz and Nic unpack tips, tales, secrets and stuff-ups from guests both inside and outside your trade, helping educate and inspire you to break the cycle of gut-busting and money stress and create a true trade business.
Coxie!
Wazza!
Welcome to Tradies in Business Radio.
You!
I'm running with it.
Okay, that's what it is.
What do you reckon?
We're not changing the name of the show, though.
Yeah.
But people won't be able to find us.
No, it'll still be Tradies in Business.
Podcast.
It just have radio on the end.
Radio.
Tradies in Business podcast radio show.
Now you're allowed to actually have your radio voice.
Welcome to the show. This is Warwick Bidwell and I'm joined by my co-host...
Nicole Cox.
Sounds like some sort of private investigator, like Magnum PI show from the 80s.
That would be cool. I always wanted to be an angel. Like
Right.
Charlie's Angels.
Oh, not like one with wings.
No, or I wanted to be Daisy Duke.
From Dukes of Hazzard.
Yep, just because she had nice legs and a cute bum. And I wanted to be able to jump in and out of the car through the window.
It probably wouldn't work in your car. It's a bit tall.
It's very high.
You'd need a step ladder.
I struggle to get into it as it is. It's so high off the ground.
And yours isn't even as high as my my Land Cruiser, which
Your
is
jalopy.
insane. I need a ladder to get in and out of that thing.
It's a jalopy.
It's good for leg strength. Anyway, welcome to Tradies in Business Radio.
Dun, dun, dun. We need a jingle.
I do like the dingle for that. I mean the sound of that. This is actually not a FIF episode. This is a Tuesday. Very serious, Coxie.
We're supposed to be the experts here and listen to us. Carry on.
I know. We know all the things you need to know about running your trade business as good as your trade, or something like that. Some really wanky tagline. But today we're going to talk about, wait for it, just are you awake, listeners? Are you awake? Because you're not going to be soon. We're talking about insurance.
You know what? They should be awake. It's very important.
Wake up. So we have a few episodes planned talking about...
We've got our first ever series.
Oh, wow.
Radio series.
A series of one. No, we've got like 4 or 5.
4
episodes. Where we're talking about not just any old insurance, not car insurance, not house insurance, not tool insurance, your tool. We're going to talk about life insurance.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, the crowd goes wild. I actually did jazz hands then when I did that.
Yes, you're very good at the old jazz hands.
We're going to talk about life insurance. I just did Can you kick me every time I do
I would love to kick you every time you do I owe you 2
There's
already.
Someone else that... Anyway, so we're going to talk about life insurance, and the reason we're talking about life insurance is because you have a life. Well,
I do.
Maybe. Well, you do, Coxie, but our listener might not.
Well, they do.
Well, they're listening to the show, so they clearly don't.
Exactly.
So you have a life. You have maybe a family. Maybe you've got some debts. Maybe you generate an income from your trade business.
I hope so.
Maybe you spend it on things.
Nice things.
Maybe if something happened to you and you are either one of the major breadwinners in your house or the only breadwinner in your house, just think of this. What would happen if you couldn't do your job for, say, 6 months? What would happen? Could you pay your bills? Could you pay your mortgage? Could you make your lease payments on your car? Could you pay your kids' school fees?
I got savings.
How much? Have you got 6 months' worth of household expenses in the bank?
If we don't eat.
Electricity, internet, Netflix.
We can't use any of those things.
Gym memberships.
No.
Car rego.
No.
Insurance on the car.
You have insurance on your car?
And this is something that most people don't think about.
No.
So if you think of that right now, 6 months, can't work, can't generate a single dollar of income, which is a real proposition for a lot of trade business owners because you're still very much on the tools, making your 70, 80, 100, 120 bucks an hour for the work that you do, plus running your team of people or maybe just an apprentice. And touch wood, something happened to you, like, I don't know, you went skiing in Japan and you came home with 2 broken legs and and a busted shoulder.
Sounds
and
like something you would do,
some
Warwick.
cracked ribs. Well, I did tear my shoulder recently. It wasn't in Japan, though, so I was a bit bummed about that. But, what if you came home with double leg casts?
Your wife would be pretty pissed.
Yeah, my ex-wife was cranky as heck with me when I broke my ankle the second time.
I'd be pissed with you too.
A 6-month-old baby.
I would be really cranky. But you know what? The reality is this stuff does happen, right?
It does. And sadly, to men, because we do dumb stuff.
You take the risk.
That's right.
Which we're going to talk about.
Oh, boom, bam. There is the key word dropped
know.
into the episode.
How good am I getting
We should
at
get
this?
these transcribed. But we're talking about risk, see? And there's this really cool concept, and that's why if you sort of come from the industry at all, which you probably don't, but I used to work in the insurance industry, they call it risk. And it's actually risk insurance. Because what you do is you pay someone to break their leg for you so you don't have to. Well, imagine if you could do that. Imagine if you went skiing and you had a big fall and you could pay your mates like, mate, I'm a Tyler, hey, like I really need my legs. This crash is about to break both of my femurs. If I give you $1,000, can you take the fall for me? Literally?
No.
Can you break your legs for me and then mine will be okay?
Give me 100K, I'll think about it.
There you go. So that's essentially what life insurance does. Is you pay someone else to take the risk of you not earning an income.
That's a really complex segue into what we're talking about today.
Right. It's about offloading the risk. So, if I'm going to do dumb stuff like snowboarding in Japan or kneeboarding on
Somerset Dam
and tear your rotator cuff. Now, fortunately for me, it wasn't my mouse hand, so I can still use the mouse and the trackpad in the office here at Tradies in Business Radio. So I can still do all the editing and stuff, and my ears work fine. But if I was a chippy and I tore my rotator cuff badly enough, I'm stuffed. I can't work.
Speaking from experience, you really are.
Looking at you.
So listeners wouldn't have a clue, but my husband's 2 shoulders are stuffed.
The builder.
Big time. So we're off for surgery in a very small period of time.
I managed to dodge surgery so far.
Well, fingers crossed, because it's 12-month recovery.
Yes.
But brings about the question, what are we going to do for 12 months for income, dear?
That's right.
We have insurance, though. We're very lucky.
So you can actually pay a company to take the risk of losing that income. Mm-hmm. And, if you break both your legs in Japan and you come home, and not only the medical bills that you've got to worry about, but it's like, how do you put tiles down when you're in a double leg cast?
How do you keep paying the apprentice?
And the ute lease and the mortgage and everything else. So what happens is, if you've been a good boy or girl and you've paid a company to take that risk for you, you just ring them up and you say, hey, good news. I broke both my legs and I can't work. You know how you said you'd take on that risk for me? Time to step up, Mr. Insurance Company.
Step on up.
Mrs. or Ms. Insurance Company. We'll make it.
Master. Doctor.
Non-binary insurance company. And they'll actually pay you a proportion, not all of, but they'll pay you a particular proportion of your income until you can go back to work.
Which is generally enough for you to get on with it.
It's enough to keep making the mortgage payments and all that. You're not going to be, dining out at Hoggies every night and that sort of stuff. But you generally will get enough if you've set the policy up properly and haven't been a tightwad. You will get enough to keep going and keep life rolling on.
Nice segue into the second part of this conversation was, you are banging on these today.
Oh, yeah. I'm on fire.
It's because we're on the radio now.
Fire! Yeah, I was born to be a radio jock.
Should we break for a song?
Yeah, let's throw to a track. We've got some Aussie rock today. Except we can't use any commercial music because we'll get pulled down from Spotify.
We don't have a license.
We're unlicensed radio jocks. Anyway, what are we rolling into now?
We're rolling into making sure you have the right kind of insurance for you.
Is there different kinds?
There are, and there are different companies that fit people differently or better or worse. There are different amounts you can be insured for. There are different ways to insure yourself.
My head's hurting already, Coxie.
I know, that's why you and I don't talk about this stuff. We get the experts in because we're not silly.
And it's why I have to come out about something.
On National radio?
On National Tradies in Business Radio. Yes, I'm going to come out about something.
All right, I trust you.
I was in a previous life an insurance salesman.
I don't like you anymore. We've had this great relationship, and at no point in time have
It's
you
just
dropped
come
that
to an
bomb.
end. Well, I just thought I'd, let us actually forge some sort of relationship before I told you the truth. No, I actually, so I had a financial planning firm quite a number of years ago now. And one of the things that we did, and I was licensed as well, was actually write life insurance for people.
How do you write life insurance? Dear Mr. Bankman.
Dear Mr. Insurance Company, please pay Coxie a ton of money when the builder buggers his shoulders and can't work.
I'm going to need a ton of money just to put up with what I'm going to have to put up with.
Yeah. So, but that's basically what it is. The cool thing about life insurance brokers, kind of like finance brokers, is that they have a pretty good understanding, if they're a good broker, of all the different products in the market that you were talking about before, Coxie. And they can say, you know what, for you as a bungee jumping, dirt bike riding, water skiing, snowboarding, high cholesterol, whatever-y person, nobody's going to insure you.
Have a nice life. Thanks for coming.
No, but they'll say, but there is this one company that is actually taking on people who work FIFO, for example.
Yeah.
Because that can be a real challenge for some people because there's a lot more risks. Or it might be that you've got a particular medical history or that, I don't know, you only have a certain amount of money that you can allocate to the premiums, and they can give you good advice around, okay, well, the best thing for you to do would be to have this policy. Don't worry about that one because it's not worth the money for the risk coverage, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's just like going to a finance broker for a mortgage or some equipment finance, and they say, at the moment, bank XYZ is actually doing the best deals for businesses like yours.
So you're saying this is like any other opportunity within your trade business whereby if you're not the expert, you don't do it.
Yeah, like don't do your own bookkeeping kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I used to do that, and it used to flip my head the number of people who declined to have just simple income protection policy and some, TPD, total and permanent disablement cover and death cover. And they had a family and they had a mortgage and they were the primary breadwinner, and they just said, that's too much money.
So they were more concerned about the money that they're spending now than the money they were going to lose or potentially lose later.
Exactly. And I just, as advisors, and any advisor has a duty of care to actually make recommendations to people whether they want to take it up or not. And they would say, no, we're not going to get it. And I think I've shared this story on the podcast before. Doing this for 5 years, I forget some of the things that I share.
But you're also getting older.
But yeah, and I'm doing that whole telling the same story over and over thing.
You're good at that.
Oh my gosh. My daughter's going to hate me.
Yeah.
So, my ex-father-in-law, that sounds weird, but my ex-father-in-law, I actually, wrote a bunch of policies for him. He was
Are you allowed to write policy for your family?
Yeah, absolutely, if they pay you money.
Fair enough.
He was a plant operator, driving excavators and rollers and trucks and stuff. And so he had income protection and critical care and all the fancy things that we're going to dig into more in this series, Coxie, and we're going to get some actual experts from a company that knows what they're doing to come and tell you all about it. And he had these policies, and several years after we put them in place, he actually got prostate cancer, sadly.
Oh, no.
And, that was the first reaction, and it wasn't super aggressive, so the treatment prognosis was pretty good. And my second thought was, you've got your critical care cover of, $250,000 or whatever it was, $200,000 or something. So we'll get onto him and make a claim. And his face went pale, and he looked down at the floor.
Oh, no.
And I said, what's wrong, mate? He said, I cancelled it.
Oh, Warwick.
I'm like, I want to swear that this is not a sweary episode. I swore. And it was like, you can't be serious. It gives me goosebumps even thinking about it now, Coxie. And so they had a mortgage. He couldn't work for a whole bunch of time, and that was a terrible, terrible time for him. He used up all of his long service leave for all the medical treatment. He'd been with the organisation for like 15 or 20 years.
Gosh.
So he'd burned through a lot of long service. He used up all his sick leave. His wife had to keep working. Like, this is someone who was about 5 years from retirement.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And retired with a mortgage.
Oh, that's terrible.
And not that you should sort of, cash in on an illness, but that's what these bloody policies are for,
Yeah.
They could have paid for all the medical treatment. He could have taken the time off work, and it would have been a lump sum, just like, there you go. You qualify for the definition of prostate cancer, we'll give you your payout.
I don't really know why I took that insurance on when my broker told me I needed it, but I nodded my head and said, okay. And now that you've relayed that story to me, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, thank goodness I have that.
So stuff like cancer, heart attack, stroke.
But I don't think this is spoken about enough.
It's not.
So most people think of life insurance and they just think of if you die, but what about if you end up in a wheelchair?
And this is the thing, most people don't die.
No.
Most people who get cancer survive.
That's right.
Most people who have heart attacks survive.
Mm-hmm.
Broken legs, they don't die. People don't die.
No, they don't. You're not going to die. You've just got a torn rotator cuff.
Exactly.
You'll be all right.
But if I was a painter, I'm stuffed.
Yeah.
I can't run a roller and a bloody spray gun all day.
No, you could use your other arm.
So, but this is the thing, right? It's not a lot of money compared to what most people waste
Right.
on other stuff in their life. And, the sad irony in this, and I'll be completely honest, he was a smoker, a pack-a-day smoker.
No.
That would have paid for the policies.
So we make light of these things here on the podcast so that you keep listening, so that you get our message. But the truth is, this is a really serious issue. If you have a family, if you have responsibilities, look, if you're a young fella and you don't yet have responsibilities, or a young lady, fine, don't worry about it. Or if you're like my dad, who is now almost 70, he's at that other stage of life, everything's paid off, there's plenty of money in the bank, he's got no dependents anymore, he doesn't have a wife or a partner, he doesn't need life insurance anymore.
No.
They're different stories, but we're talking about the most of your life when you're either in a business or you're owning a home or you have a family or somebody else is relying on you. You need insurance. You need life insurance, you need TPD, and you need this critical care insurance, plus all the other insurances like on your house and your car and all those things. And I know we have conversations all day, every day with other tradies who say, yes, but it's so much money. Really? How much money are you going to lose if you don't have this?
And that's this whole thing about risk, Are you willing to take the fall and bust your own legs, or do you want to pay someone else to take it for you? And it's just deciding for you personally, what level of risk are you willing to take?
Yes.
And, none of this is specific advice for you listening. You should go and speak to a broker. If you already have one, go speak to them. Or a financial planner generally does all this same stuff as well. They do financial planning and life insurance. I would encourage you not to go direct to one company because you're only going to get one story.
Yes.
If you go to a Ford dealership, they're not going to sell you a Tesla.
I would like a Tesla.
Even if the Tesla is the best car for your needs, they will not sell you a Tesla. So why would you go to one bank or one insurance company thinking that you're getting the best deal and the best product when they're only going to tell you about theirs?
And very generally, they're not taking all of your circumstances into consideration.
They have sales targets to meet just
That's
like
right.
the rest of us. You're not going to recommend the plumber down the road if you're a plumber.
Oh, gosh,
if you
no.
think the plumber down the road does a better job of using the drain camera than you. So why would you think that a bank or an insurance company would be any different? Matter of fact, they're not. They're worse.
They are.
So go talk to a broker. And Coxie and I have actually lined up a couple of interviews that are coming up after this one. Not right now, so don't worry. This isn't a 4-hour episode, but we've actually grabbed some fantastic interviews with a couple of great guys from an organisation called Skylight Financial Services.
Oh, I forgot the services.
Yeah. Now you may not have heard of Skylight, but they are actually, I guess, supported by and created by BusQ.
Which I just think is the best idea. Does this not all go hand in hand?
Yeah. Which, so BusQ is one of the biggest construction industry super funds in Australia. They're the biggest one, I think, in Queensland.
By far.
So they have like over 70,000 members or something, and they specialise in, you guys listening, they specialise in trades and construction. Now, anybody can be a member of BusQ and anybody can use Skylight, but they are very familiar with tradespeople and the way you're set up, the specific risks that you have, the occupations that you have. So if you're a tiler, plumber, builder, carpet layer, roofer, asbestos remover, whatever it is, they've seen it. They've heard it all. They actually do a fair bit of stuff with farming as well. But they're very, very good at giving you good advice on what's best for you given your situation. So we actually lined up a couple of interviews from these two guys, and one it talks about specifically life insurance and all the different products that you can have, why they're important, what they do for you, and even if you don't use Skylight, the sorts of things that you should be aware of if you go talk to a different broker. So yeah, it's something that like I try not to add up the amount of money that I have spent on life insurance premiums over the last 20 years or so since I started taking out policies. But I can tell you I've actually personally, the broken ankle thing and the ex-wife and the 6-month-old baby, I actually got paid nearly $12,000 7 days after my accident, after I broke my ankle, under my income protection policy.
That's amazing.
And it was just because I had the right policy.
Yes.
That, I was a broker, but, one of the guys in the office wrote the policy for me because you can't write your own. And basically, it's listed in there. If you fracture your wrist or your ankle or your leg or your collarbone or whatever, they just pay you an amount of money just straight off the bat.
So 2 things I want to say. We talk a lot about fee-for-service and how important it is. Let's talk about that just a little bit. Okay. So there are several different ways in which you can pay for these kind of services. You can pay a flat-out fee. It's transparent. You know what you're doing straight up front. It's an hourly charge or it's a per-job charge. But either way, you're told that before you step in to the deep planning of finding the right policy for you. Yep. Or there's the veiled stuff that you don't really know, and what's actually happening is that broker or that person is taking a commission from a company payments. Without actually talking to you about it. Yep. So it's really important, regardless of who you go with, is to find somebody who is a clear and defined fee for service.
And fee for service is generally perceived as being more impartial because they're not particularly dialed into one company that might be paying a little better commission.
Well, they're just being paid by you.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like tradies, isn't it?
Funny.
They're not getting paid by the plumbing supplies company.
No.
They're actually charging a fee for their service.
Hello.
So, a lot of people begrudge paying a fee for service for this sort of advice, but having worked in that industry for 8 years myself, I can tell you there's some people who, just like the banks, will tell you what you want to hear because they want to make the sale. And so, not surprisingly, the lads from Skylight are fee-for-service based. And so they're totally upfront and transparent with all of that. But you should definitely listen to the other episodes in this series here at Tradies in Business Radio. And if you have life insurance currently, it's worth having another look at.
Well, that's a big point, is it not?
And reviewing it.
Yes.
And
your life changes.
My beautiful wife has a horrible story from her work. One of her colleagues needed to go on claim, didn't realise that the cover that she had didn't cover certain things, and that it didn't last for more than 2 years, and she can't return to work at all, ever. Gosh. And so if you have the right kind of policy, it could pay you to age 65.
Wow.
And just pay you an income. And this poor woman, she lost her job because she couldn't return to work.
Sure.
So, and her insurance doesn't cover it.
Oh, no.
Because she's got the wrong policy. And she's in her 60s, caring for her 3 grandchildren because the mother is unable to do that.
Oh, no.
It's just an awful, awful story. And she literally just didn't realise because she didn't get good advice.
That's so sad.
And, I've heard so many stories like this over the years of being a life insurance broker, actually helping people make claims, and stories like my ex-father-in-law where I could have cried and strangled him all in the same moment, because for the sake of, a few grand worth of premium over a few years, they could have been sitting pretty. He made a full recovery from the cancer.
Great.
The
That's
treatment
good news.
worked. He returned to work because he had to try and pay some more off the mortgage, and the chemo and everything really knocked him around. But a few $1,000.
Could have solved all of the problems.
Yeah. So that's our little. It's like a mini rant, isn't it, Coxie?
It was a gentle rant.
A gentle rant on insurance, and in particular life insurance. So stick around for the other episodes in the series. You're going to get tons out of it. A couple of great guys. They're actually really good interviews. And,
They were funny.
Nowhere near as boring as me
No.
talking about it. Their radio voices weren't quite as good as mine. But, but yeah, check those ones out. We talked to a couple of dudes from Skylight. One's about life insurance, and the other one is actually about wealth creation and how to make sure that busting your backside in your business is doing something for you. So super cool to be supported by the guys at BusQ and Skylight. And apart from that, if you make sure you're in the group, you'll find out about all this stuff.
You will.
And we'll be posting some more information in the Facebook group, Tradies in Business, super soon. Is there anything else I've missed, Coxie?
You can go and check us out online.
Oh, yeah, we are online. We're on the internet. The big web thing. It still exists, doesn't it?
World Wide Web.
Yes.
Can you imagine what would happen if it broke down?
Oh, my gosh. Everyone would just, panic.
I would panic. I wouldn't exist if I wasn't online.
No. It'd be peaceful, wouldn't it?
How would I tell people what I'm doing?
It'd probably sound a bit like this.
It's just the crows, and of course the crows didn't make any noise at all when we're trying to make a joke.
That's right. Anyway, thank you for listening here at Tradies in Business Radio. Radio. Radio killed the podcast stars.
gonna kill us.
Yeah, I'm going to stop waffling. Hooray.
You've been listening to the Tradies in Business podcast with Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Find out more about today's guest, tools for your trade business, and other cool stuff at tradiesinbusiness.com.au.